Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. How you feeling today on Hump Day? I just have three requests, just like usual. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Do one, two, or the three, or do whatever, or just share it with somebody else. So we can keep a healthy dialogue going on. Because that's all we want to do is just promote good, healthy, positive, forward-thinking dialogue. All right. I also want to shout out before I start the video to two people. First, my buddy Rayvon Sapp, who always or has been recently checking on me to try to find out the titles and the stuff beforehand. So I really appreciate that encouragement. And also my cousin Kevin Smith, who at the end of each night sends me a detailed critique of what he thought about, what I had to say. And like I said, with all of us and most of us, these are all typical conversations that, a lot of us forward-thinking, mature people would have. All right. So with that being said, let's get started. So you see the title. I'll never have dinner with the president. And of course, so for some people who may not know, that's a play off of a song called No Vaseline that Eazy-E made, not Easy, I'm sorry, that Ice Cube made, talking about Eazy-E when back, I think in the late 80s, early 90s, he went to go see the president at the time. So it's kind of like talking about how, you talk about all of this stuff in one way, and then you turn, and when you get the opportunity, you, for lack of better words, sell everybody else out or sell out your crew, and then you go. So yesterday in the news, I saw that the Eagles, the world champion Super Bowl Eagles, have decided to go to the White House. So, just like with anything we're here, because I know some stuff, people may not have any knowledge of. Some stuff I don't have any knowledge of. So, I go and do a little research. So, in saying that, this whole tradition of champions going to the White House started back in, 1869, where President Ulysses S. Grant welcomed a baseball team, and their name happened to be the Cincinnati, not the Cincinnati Reds, but the Cincinnati Red Stockings. That's what they were called back then. So they were actually the first sports team, professional sports team also, to be welcomed in the White House. Then in 1960, and it went on and on and on. As far as the first basketball team, because I know we got a lot of basketball fans, was in 1963 when John F. Kennedy welcomed in the Boston Celtics. And then the first football team, the first NFL team, was the 1980 Pittsburgh Steelers, and they were hosted by Jimmy Carter. So, a lot of people, just think about it. Most of us, you got over 350 million people in America. Most people will never get a chance to go in the White House. So from that perspective, I could understand people wanting to go and, be with the commander in chief and, just see, everything that comes along with it, because, this is, our White House. This is where the leader of the free world is. Years and years and years and years and years and years ago, I worked for AmeriCorps, which is almost like the Peace Corps, except based in America. So, for any of those of you, we worked for the National School and Community Corps. For any of those of you who know about Habitat for Humanity or City Year, because they used to give out those free Timberlands, you know what I'm talking about. But so when I was with AmeriCorps, I got a chance to, do a lot of community service work. And I got to meet, and what I mean meet, I'm talking about basically a handshake, was President Bill Clinton 2 times back in the 90s. And it was a surreal feeling, because it was almost like, these guys that I've seen on TV and State of the Unions and things like that forever. Now I get to see this guy standing right here in front of me, and I get to shake his hand, so that was a cool thing. Now, let's get back to talking about sports teams going. So back in 2018, during President Trump's first term, the Eagles elected not to go. All right. So they didn't want to go because there were guys like Malcolm Jenkins. There were a lot of other guys who said, hey, listen, you know what? This just isn't for us. The same as other teams have done. And they've chosen not to go to the White House because his views don't align with a lot of other people's views in this country who feel like, and we've talked about it before, people who like to be civil. People, although depending on which side of the aisle you're on, Republican or Democrat, or if you happen to be an independent, it doesn't matter. You still try to practice civility. You still try to act as a decent person. You don't talk about people, kind of like how with President Trump was upset last week when he talked in the hall, when he talked to Congress, to the Senate, and he basically called all the Democrats idiots, and how they wouldn't stand for him, and just different stuff like that, and they don't acknowledge his existence with certain things. So he chose to use that time being uncivil to berate a certain group of people, as opposed to saying, hey, look, I understand, I get it, but here's a time to try to unite. Here's a time to try to throw out a bone. You've won the election, so there's no need to continue to rub in the fact that you won and you want to make all of these sweeping changes, and you have a lot of people who are suffering right now because of job situations and things like that. And the reason why I want to point that out is because this year the Eagles, and like I said, it was said yesterday that the Eagles have decided to go to the White House this year. And I'll say, just me personally, it's disappointing to me, because a lot of people will say sports, life, sports, politics, all of that other kind of stuff, keep it out. But here's the one nugget I want to point out is that he's said some pretty bad things before, as far as I think the Eagles wanted to send a contingent of 10 people or 15 people down there before, because a lot of the team members didn't want to go. So he basically just dismissed them and said, you know what, and this is back in 2018, you know what, if you're not going to bring the entire team, we're not rearranging everything down here at the White House for 10 people, right? So he didn't want to accommodate the much smaller group, because he knows as far as photo ops, it would have been a bad look. So also, he's had nothing but positive things to say about Patrick Mahomes and his wife, and it was rarely, even leading up to this year's Super Bowl, anything positive to say about the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, it could have been anybody else. It could have been the Atlanta Falcons. It could have been, the New York Giants, anybody else who went to the Super Bowl and won. But he had basically no love at all for the Philadelphia Eagles. And a lot of that, because remember, he always holds grudges. So because of those grudges and what happened in 2018, he had nothing positive to say. And people can put it in a comment or send me the Google link if he did say anything positive about the Eagles. But I follow sports pretty intensely, so I know that I don't recall hearing anything. So the tie-in is this. You have, let's just put it in terms of being average people, although it's kind of hard to do that, right? But let's just say, for instance, if there was this big cookout going on, right? And you had a couple of people, friends or people of friends, and they didn't really care for you, right? They didn't care for you, and but your other friends say, hey, look, I want you to go to this cookout with me. I want you to go to this house or this cookout for me. And you say, wait a minute. You mean to tell me you want me to go to this house of these people that don't necessarily care for me? They didn't even root for me. They actually rooted against me in the Super Bowl. They didn't even have anything good to say after the fact in the Super Bowl. They didn't have anything good to say about any of the players, or once again being civil as the president of everyone, and say, hey, look, the Chiefs are great. I love Patrick Mahomes, but hey, guess what? The Eagles are great also too. I love Jalen Hurts, or I love this guy, or I think that he's a phenomenal talent. There was none of that for the Philadelphia Eagles. And the big problem that I have with that overall is that, yes, he's the president, but because of a constant lack of accountability, because of a constant lack of showing good faith, good stewardship, that's the reason why I wouldn't want them to go, is because you basically, and he gets away with this a lot. And, his, a lot of times in his party, because I don't know specifically which ones, but I know I saw them all standing up in lockstep clapping to every little thing he said, right? But I'm sure he has some opposition. But it's almost like this kiss the ring theory with him, kiss the ring sentiment with him, where, because let's face it, most of the players that play in the NFL are African American, right? And a lot of them and their families, their mothers, their sisters, a lot of their families have kind of the same sentiment. So once again, going back to my first analogy, why would you want to go somewhere where your kind, your people are really not accepted? And you know what? We'll for the sake of argument, try to take race out of it. Let's look at it like this. Just if I don't like you, if I've already shown I don't care for you, you've shown me, not only because sometimes you'll have friends like this. You ever have one of those friends where you're like, you sit around them, they talk all of this trash about everybody else, but you sit and thinking to yourself, oh no, I'm different. They won't talk trash about me. They won't do that to me. That's my homegirl. That's my homeboy. He wouldn't do that to me. But guess what? At the same time, the same way he trashes everybody else or she trashes everybody else, there's a good chance if you haven't already gotten trashed by them, guess who's coming up next? You. Because I've experienced that also, where you think you have a friend and this friend is just trashing you. And that's the way I look at this administration, where if you're not in lockstep with something, if you're not in lockstep, you're trash. You're berated. And that is the reason why, if I were a player or an organization, no accountability. Even in the NFL, they put in, it said in racism for the last, I don't know, however many years, in the end zones. For this year's Super Bowl, they took it out. It was mysteriously gone. Was it the DEI stuff, the diversity, equity, and inclusion thing that he's been threatening everybody with, including now the NFL, which a lot of them probably owner-wise don't care about any of that anyway. But what's the reason? What's the reasoning? So once again, because people will always look at stuff from a surface level, with things. But what I'm saying is that why would you want to go to a house, or why would you want to go somewhere where they don't like your kind? They don't like you. For the most part, if they don't like most people. And that's what I said, because, we can take the race out of it. We've seen how he's treated people that he cares about, how he's treated different people in his cabinet, how you're fired, you're fired, you're fired, you're fired, you're fired. How he's done that in his last administration or his first administration. So we've seen the type of person he is towards anybody that shows any opposition. Extremely petulant behavior. But we're so quick to say, hey, look, sports, politics have nothing to do with each other. Let's keep them out. But how about humanity? How about being a decent person? Is that taken out of politics? Is that taken out of sports? So if you want to look at humanity in sports, so football is a tough sport. So let me go and try to end this guy's career so he can't feed his family anymore. Yeah, I might try to put a lick on him, but I don't want to end his career. You want to know why? Because I'm a pretty civil person. I believe in humanity. It's almost like Like I said, sometimes you got to say, "Hey, look, I'm going to sit this one out." But hey, I get it. You're talking about 50 something guys, and maybe 100 people, including certain staff members and people that are going to go. So hey, and I'm sure it might not be dinner, but I'm sure you'll have a great lunch with the president. You can hold up the jersey, and to me, what it says is that I can treat you like crap when I want to, because this isn't a different organization. This is the same organization, just 8 years apart. That I can treat you like crap. I can treat a lot of other people in this country like crap. Forget Bills and what he said he's doing. The issue is that how does it make you feel? If what he does and the way he acts makes you feel good, then guess what? Maybe if you get a chance, you should sit down and have dinner with the president. But let me know what you think. And hey, I'm always going to be a lifelong Eagles fan. I'm just not a fan of having this sit down with the president. But until tomorrow, thanks for listening.